anyone in the audience who would like to pull a consent agenda item for further discussion?
1.4 and 1.6.
Okay, we have 1.4, 1.6. Sarah, is there anyone online? Okay. With that, commissioners, I would entertain a motion for the balance of those items. So we have item 1.4, emergency management. And do we have anyone who wants to address that? Or Sarah, do you want to, any introductory comments?
I would just respond to any questions the commission has.
Okay. I had all of my questions answered. Commissioners, anything you would like to talk about before public comment on this? Is there anyone who'd like to give public comment on item 1.4 from the consent agenda?
I pulled this to discuss one name only. In the social services realm, actually two names, but in the social services area, you have Kim Murphy, who is listed from the LDS Church. However, Kim has an important role within the police department, and I would hope that maybe we could get somebody that has less of a vested interest in the police department on that social services panel. And the reason is because what we've seen in the city, as well as county areas, is the move to criminalize instead of treating properly and the wraparound services that were referred to. The other name on there is Matthew Falk from Burton Ash. In my opinion, he's a bit out of touch with the reality on the street and a little stuck in the books. I mean, he's very smart about the grant programs and how all that stuff works, but he's not very smart about trying to be helpful on the streets and interacting on the streets. He's very closed off and not very open to those kind of things. I think we need more people that are able to address the actual issues on the streets in a more productive way than these two could. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to give public comment on item 1.4? Anyone online? Okay, that closing public comment, bringing it back to the commission for any further discussion or a motion.
This is Commissioner Reed. I don't have any further discussion. I appreciate the public comment and duly noted. I move to approve item 1.4 on the consent agenda.
It's Commissioner Kelly, second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And item 1.6, this is a sheriff's item request. Do we want to have any comments? Do you want to address anything first or just have public comment?
Commissioner, we'd be willing to answer any questions that there may be.
Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions before we do public comment on this?
None from me.
With that, we have public comment for this one. Come on up.
This item is a request to waive the formal bidding process, and this is a highly unique request because normally when you're asking to waive a formal bidding process, it's for a more legitimate reason, such as there's only 2 distributors in the world and one is just 100 miles away, or that this is such a specialized product that we can only get it here, or that it's such an emergent issue it has to happen now and we don't have time to do the bidding process. Reading into this, what I learned was that the sheriff is stating that he has already conducted a bidding process and he has already determined for the commissioners which is the best deal, and that's the one he's presenting to you. That's not an appropriate way to waive a normal bidding process. That's basically commandeering the bidding process and taking it out of your hands. Those bids should have come to the commission and they should have been discussed in a normal bidding process rather than the sheriff making a unilateral decision and then recommending that the commission approve it. I hope the commission knows enough about the bidding process to realize that this is not an appropriate way to request to waive that bidding process. If you read into these documents, and I'd like to see a little bit more discussion on this, it actually says in there, the sheriff describes his bidding process being undertaken and that he has made this determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to give public comment on item 1.6? Anyone online? Okay. At closing public comment, bring it back to the commission. Any thoughts, questions, or motions?
Is anyone there from the sheriff's office to address this?
Yes.
No.
Good evening, Commissioners. Gary Bunting with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. So to respond to Mr. Arabi, we did evaluate a number of different devices that each had different capabilities. And what we found is this particular device that we are requesting permission to purchase had the capabilities that we needed for efficiency purposes. This device is the only device at this time that really does what it does. So what we ran into is we had a situation where multiple vendors sold the same device, and we solicited the lowest possible bid that we could for that particular device through the vendors that we were able to have contact with, and it was through a GSA contract, which other vendors provided a price for us that was approximately $30,000 to $40,000 higher, but utilizing this vendor with this GSA contract, we saved quite a lot of money going through that. So our determination was based on functionality and efficiency of what we needed to meet our needs.
Commissioner, did you have questions for Major Bunting?
Yeah, I mean, I see in the enclosure, it says that it takes significant time to do the bidding process. What about the bidding process is restrictive to, take so much time that we couldn't do what we normally do?
Gary, I can maybe answer a little bit and then you can go in there. A traditional RFP process for us takes anywhere between 90 and 120 days so that you allow all the potential respondents plenty of time to prepare proposals. And you have to prepare very specific specifications as opposed to sort of, and make them generic enough that they could be responded to for a wide variety of vendors, as opposed to evaluating what is commonly available on a website or from a proposal. So it's, those are some differences that lead to longer times. We can try to do it faster, but then you worry that you don't have time for people to respond appropriately. Gary, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add.
No, Commissioner, exactly as the county administrator said, I think the major difference being the formal bidding process versus kind of ours was more of an informal process that we completed. It's time lengthy and based on incidents that we've had, kind of lended to our urgency of being able to make this purchase.
Those are all my questions. Thanks.
Any other questions?
I don't have any more questions.
I would say that the GSA contract, if the GSA contract is put together in a very specific way that doesn't meet the specifications of a competitive bid contract under our purchasing policies. That being said, normal contracts, this wouldn't have even, our purchasing policies allow us that if we can piggyback on an existing contract, we would just do that regardless of the dollar amount. So, and also part of the reason why it is here is because of the specifics of the GSA contract. So if this had been a state of Kansas contract, we would have just moved forward with the purchase. So to me, that's more of why this feels like a technical issue, because they are using a contract. It's just not, it doesn't meet certain definitions of how it's competitively bid, but it is a reduced price.
Is there any need to work on our bid process in order to allow for GSA contracts?
I think that's something I can have the purchasing manager take a look at.
Okay, that'd be great. I think that's all the questions we have. Thank you. Commissioners, anything further, or I would entertain a motion.
I would just ask that in the future, if we have, if it tells us that they've collected bids, and listening to the sheriff's department say they collected bids and this is the lowest one, that could be included in the memo. But we don't have that information in the memo. So, and I appreciate what Commissioner Willie said about looking at our policy. If we need to change our policy for this technical issue, let's take a look at it.
Appreciate those comments.
I too appreciate those comments, and I'll move forward with a motion to approve item 1.6 on today's consent agenda.
Commissioner Kelly, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for the discussion. That moves us to general public comment. Do we have anyone here in the room who would like to give general public comment this evening?
Well, I was going to speak about other things, but I really have to address this bidding process again, because it's no longer on the agenda now, it's over. The fact that they took the bids, that was the time. There was the time that was lost, that now is an urgent matter. They did the bidding process instead of you guys, and you guys just let them have it. That's extremely disappointing, because you're going to vary a policy to slide something through like this that really is improper. And Mr. Kelly, it does actually say it in the agenda. If you open up the full one and go to this area, it does talk about the sheriff collecting the bids and deciding on his own which one was the lowest one. And that is the job of the county in this case. And to just waive it because they've already done it, and the gobbledygook about a different contract and all that really is regardless to this, because if that really mattered, we wouldn't have to do the waiver. It would already be purchased under an existing contract.